Friends, if you're looking for real old school laughs, you're in for a treat because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
Fade in.
Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark. Woo. That's right. It's the day after Christmas. It's Boxing Day in the UK or Britain, Great Britain. Which is it both? I think it's both. I asked this earlier of Mr. H, and he gave me a roundabout, long ass explanation. But I guess it's not about actual boxing. But it'd be cooler if it was.
That would be.
Oh, Scribe's in the chat. I keep forgetting to add him to the mean thing. I don't know if he can actually make it or not, but yeah. But a bunch of the other people will be coming along shortly. But until they do, we have with us already Clobbering Times. How you doing? Clobbering Times.
Hey, I like that pronunciation. I'm doing fine. What's up, buddy? My
It's
good friend.
clobbering time.
It's clobbering time. Hello, chat. Good to see you. And Price and Tom, hope you all had a wonderful Christmas.
It crushed. No, it was all right.
Clobbermas.
It was good.
Yeah. Well, glad to hear that, Price. And welcome to the program, Price. How are you doing besides having a good Christmas?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Doing the best I can. A little tired, but I think we'll hang in there for a little longer here. Welcome, everybody in the chat. Please share out the stream. Let everybody know we're live. Hit the like button. Let the algorithm know that you like what you see. Even if you're lying a little bit, it does stroke my ego. But yes, welcome to the program, kids. We're nearing the end of the year. What do you think about that, Jay? Good talk. Yeah, interesting. Thank you for that, Drunk 3PO. So yeah, here we go. You guys, before we get anybody else in here, since I just got the two of you anyway, it's perfect because you were the only two who watched this garbage.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to kick off the stream talking a little bit about this stuff. But before we do that, let me real quick say hello to some of the regulars in the chat. I see we got D-Bud swinging around a wrench in there. How you doing, D-Bud Martin? Mecca J. We got Duck Nation here. Jeremy Winfield, thank you for being a member as well. Ian Giovanni's here. Fresh Snow. Kalekioki's here. Dr. Megatron is here. RJ Godzilla's in the house. That's right. Hamdinger is here. Lance Corporal Waffles. Doug 1985. Keely Chow. Emotionally Unstable Amphibian is here and says, howdy. Welcome. We see Tim Hayes as well. So many memorable faces we see all the time. Goddess of Whim, for instance, FKHC 2005. Welcome to the program. I love it. Love seeing all the regulars here and new faces, of course, as well. It's always good to see new people as well. See Antiderivative Jill. We got Zachary Bloom here. Lombardi 1969. Welcome to the program. Joshua Miller. I think that's a new name. I think that's a new name. See, I like new names and new faces. Nice to meet you, Josh. If you're been here before, I apologize. I just hadn't noticed you before. Grand Admiral Adam is here as well. So welcome everybody. Did I say hello to Mecha J? Well, hello, Mecha J. If I didn't already, I think I did. But that being said, welcome to the program, everybody. We're gonna have some more guests joining us, or panelists, I should say, as we move along here. But before we get to the other stuff, as I said before, Price and Klobby have seen this atrocity, or is that a word, atrocity?
Yeah, it's probably.
My blood sugar's low. I'm gonna get a snack while you guys discuss.
I would say that the other specials were bigger atrocities, but this one still wasn't very good.
Yeah, it opens. I tell you, the Murray Gold theme and everything was nice to open up with it. A pretty good open, unlike the horrible theme that Chibi had for What's Her Face. It felt more like an old one, but that's about as far as it goes. Then the music ends, and you have to see the story, the episode. Boy,
right.
Oh man, go for it.
I mean, there's a few things that I have to say that I didn't mind. The companion, I didn't think she was bad, and if you put this guy and he's not wearing underwear and he's not wearing a kilt and he's not dancing with dudes,
dancing in general, in fact,
general, yeah, at a club, but at a nightclub, like with
spinning around and
right, not that there's like the Seinfeld thing, not that there's anything wrong with it, but for the doctor to be in a nightclub in a dress dancing with a guy, it's kind of an odd development.
Yeah, I did. They didn't need that. It was totally unnecessary.
It feels more like overindulgence on the side of Russell T Davies, the showrunner, who just is getting a lot of joy of just putting in whatever he wants into this thing. But I don't think that felt very Doctor Who to me. No. That whole scene in that nightclub.
Speaking of bringing people into things, hopefully this individual will belong here. Mr. Scribelight, how you doing? Have you seen Doctor Who?
I've seen a lot of Doctor Who. I don't have much interest in seeing this Doctor Who.
Okay, well, welcome to the program. Hopefully,
thank you so much for the. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for the invite. Got my computer thing problem yesterday figured out, so now I'm back on my regular setup. So hopefully my sound isn't too terrible. I did want to say one thing. I overheard what you're talking about, and I don't know. I can't claim that this is a point that I came up with all on my own. It might have been something that I heard somewhere else, but a very good point was made about Russell T Davies and the whole Whovian production crew effectively gambling with somebody else's chips because they're not having to worry about an audience or a paying customer when they're making these things. The BBC gets the money anyway from the licenses. So whether people like it or not is almost irrelevant to them. So there's no fan pressure to make them give the audience what they want. They can do what they want.
With Disney involved, that wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I mean, I think Disney do want people to watch their service and watch this on their service. I don't know if they will. I don't know if they will. When I watched it, I keep thinking to myself, does an American audience really want to watch this? I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
Did Disney pay BBC some kind of licensing fee for this, or did I miss the ownership?
There's a three-way partnership between the BBC, Russell T Davies production company, and Bad Wolf and Disney. Whereas Disney, in order to distribute it all over the world outside the UK on Disney Plus, they're actually providing financial backing for the production of the show. Now, of course, we don't have the contract, so I can't tell you how much and what's happening, but it's obvious that Disney have brought money to the table, and that's actually apparently what, according to what Russell T Davies, the showrunner, says, that's what caused him to want to be a part of this, because he got excited thinking about Disney and their money. Or he didn't say it that way, but that's what it seems like. He's in the perfect position. He has money from Disney. He has spiritual support from the BBC, who gives the license or whatever it is, and at the same time, his company has creative freedom to do all the stuff that they want, which is a lot of very political stuff. So it's kind of like a perfect storm of crap in a way.
What do you think? And I know this might be a bit too abstract, but I mean, I was introduced to Doctor Who kind of, well, not late in the game per se, but about like a third of the way through the David Tennant first round. my friends who are big Who fans forever and ever were like, hey, you got to watch this. You got to watch this. Like, oh, okay. And I mean, David Tennant sold me on it, and all the writing and everything during that time, and setting things up in the first episode that paid off in the last and all that kind of thing was great. I just wonder if anybody knows, and I'm sure somebody's done some work on this, at what point did Russell T Davies go to the dark side? Like, what transferred him from what people were hoping he would bring back to the show when he returned versus what has happened?
Well,
I think I have an answer for it, but Claudia, you started saying
no. Go ahead.
First of all, and this is something that a friend of mine called John the White, who's sort of an independent journalist and also a huge Doctor Who fan, he explained to me that a lot of these Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat and even Chibnall and all these people, they used to socialize together. It's at a place called Fitzroy. They're considered something called the Fitzroy Gang, the Fitzroy Club. I don't know if I'm pronouncing or saying it correctly, but something like that. My bottom line is, they always have been kind of political people. And I guess Russell T Davies, it's not that he wasn't quote unquote woke. It's just that during those days, early on in these episodes, Scribe, that you described, there were people there that kept him in check in a way. And he also didn't feel emboldened to just say, hey, I'm going to take this franchise and do whatever I please with it. It was more like, how do I do something good for fans? How do I do something creative that people will enjoy? And I do think that Russell T Davies, when he wants to, is capable of doing that. But what happened over the years is that the world became more quote unquote woke, or not quote unquote. I mean, whatever you want, however you want to see it. It's just a word that I don't always love to use, but there's nothing else I can use to describe what's happening here. So unfortunately, woke it is. So basically, the BBC became more woke. The world became more woke. Disney themselves are woke. And Russell T Davies became even woker. Plus, he got all these awards. He did all these shows, that are very LG type of things, and people were giving him all these awards. So we got a different Russell T Davies coming back here, now emboldened to do anything he's ever dreamed, with people around him telling him, yes, like, do even more. Can you take it a step further? And
it reminds me. Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
I was going to say, it reminds me a couple of the first, we think about Bros and Billy Eichner and the production behind that, where you had a guy who was completely driven to do this one thing and no one around him telling him no, but just completely affirming him all the time, and you get the disaster you get. But we keep seeing this over and over, and I don't understand why it's not something that at least studios don't recognize. George Lucas unshackled with the prequels, and you get the prequels. Kevin Feige unshackled by Perlmutter, and you get phase 4 and 5. Russell T Davies unshackled by anybody else keeping a leash on him, and you get this stuff. I mean, there has to be a checks and balances, but it seems like more and more as time goes on, people just say, oh, well, he was a genius then, giving him all the credit without the people holding him back a bit. And then you get stuff like this. We see this pattern repeating over and over and over again. It seems so obvious. You can have a genius, but the genius has to have some kind of containment. Otherwise, it just goes into, it's nonsense.
There's a saying, something along the lines of, geniuses are at their best when they're limited. When somebody comes in and takes a genius and says, you can only do A, B, C, D, that's when you're going to get the best work from that genius. Now, sometimes it's not like that. I think that if Quentin Tarantino makes a movie, he's Quentin Tarantino. He's going to make the movie that he wants to make. But most writer-directors and people aren't Quentin Tarantino or a Martin Scorsese or something like that. Most people are just kind of, varying degrees of okay.
Some can self-regulate, so, at least to a functional degree, or they at least trust a chosen few to be their sort of memento mori, standing behind, telling them they're still human.
Tom Cruise has Christopher McQuarrie, that after years he found a guy that I think that he actually listens to what this guy says. They kind of have some kind of collaboration going on. The better ones have these type of people around them that they trust. I think that Russell T Davies, he used to have more checks and balances around him, and now he just has people that are trying to get out of him his worst tendencies, and they're just cheering him on. It's really like I said, a perfect storm. It's not even a perfect storm of crap. It's a perfect storm of woke. Unfortunately, I mean, it's not that I'm enjoying this. I'm just,
No.
I also, I personally, the reason why I don't always like to say the word woke is because generally speaking, equality and people treating each other respectfully is a thing that I believe in entertainment and in anything. But what they do, the people that claim to be doing this, are doing something else. And and I think that woke initially was a word that maybe described something good that somebody wanted to do, but the meaning of it now is no longer, if there was something good about it, it doesn't seem that way now.
Well, I mean, it originated as a left-wing description of being enlightened, effectively, like not being asleep to the facts and things. But I mean, all it has ever really been is valuing identity and aesthetic over merit and quality. And so, like Russell T. Davies, like when he was talking about the wheelchair-bound villain, it's like, oh, we don't want people to see disabled people as villains. And it's like, no, nobody's seeing disabled people as villains. They see that character as a villain. You've suddenly decided to take it and extrapolate it out into something more than it actually is. It reminds me when everybody went nuts in the D&D community, saying that, oh, orcs represent black people. It's like, why would you say that, you racist? It's just it's just been this rolling insanity over the last 10 years or so. And it's, I mean, on the one hand, it's comical to see people falling all over themselves to be so politically correct, but on the other hand, when you see it entering and affecting not only mainstream media but pop culture and politics, it's really disheartening sometimes. I'm glad that people are. I can't think of another phrase. Say waking up to the problems with woke, but that's. I mean, I'll take whatever I can get at this point.
Well, now I guess this character's on the Jinx character's coming up on an upcoming episode, but now you guys, you Klobby and Price have seen the latest episode.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that, Klobby. What happened in the recent episode? Because both of y'all said it wasn't as bad as the other, 2 or 3 we've already gotten so far as the specials.
Oh no, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad.
Sorry, you go on, Klobby.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say that I think those 3 specials were especially bad because they brought back David Tennant from an era that people did actually like this show. And you're hoping to see this character that you like with this actor that you like when he portrays him, yet somehow they pinned so much agenda stuff on him and made him kind of look like an idiot that it felt like a Luke Skywalker situation to an extent, Last Jedi type of Luke Skywalker, meaning he didn't seem like himself. He seemed like he was being bent and molded into some kind of agenda peddling, and I think that's what people really didn't like about those 3 specials. At least I didn't like it. In addition to the fact that they just weren't that great. Even if you take out all the politics, they were just kind of mediocre to begin with, but you add the politics and they were almost unwatchable. Now, in this case, this new doctor, he doesn't have anything like that you remember some good days where you enjoyed seeing him. You're sort of just seeing him be the doctor for the first time. I personally think that the actor himself, if you take away his personal preferences in real life, and if you take away Russell T. Davies pushing him wearing a skirt or all this weird stuff, if you just would have given him, like you give Sir Ian McKellen a role, and you just would have said, you're the doctor, I think he probably could have pulled it off. He wasn't terrible in this episode, but it's hard to ignore the type of agenda peddling going on in the background, for me at least. Cool.
So, Klobby, what were you about to say, though?
Oh, no, it's not good. I mean, it's a terrible start to a Doctor now. As someone who's been a fan of Doctor Who for over 40-something years, 43 years, whatever it is now almost. But at the outset of every new Doctor, and they had a pretty good streak going. Now, obviously, my first Doctor was Tom Baker, but then later I got a chance to see all of them. So, and then from then on, each new Doctor would come along. Every time a new Doctor comes along, and William Hartnell, of course, was a different story because he was the very first. But people who became fans of that show were in immediately. Patrick Troughton comes along. You get the course of his first adventure. By then, you're hooked. You know it's a new Doctor. Of course, it had to be a lot different for the fans at that point because regeneration was a new thing. By the time John Pertwee comes along, regeneration is an established part to the show. By the end of his first adventure, Spirit from Space, you know it's a new Doctor. He's had his first adventure. You're there. You didn't take any time to fall in love with him if you're a Doctor Who fan, usually anyway. I'm always mostly speaking for myself, mind you. And then with Robot Tom Baker and so on and so forth. Every other Doctor, at the outset of their first adventure, I'm hooked. That new actor has intrigued me. I've missed it. You missed the old guy. but you love seeing the new guy, see what's going to happen, a fresh new beginning to the show. And they always, well, again, not everyone likes every Doctor. I'm one of those that loves every Doctor up to the end of Matt Smith. So every time a new one would come along, I'm there. I'd be like, okay, this new guy's got me in this new adventure, no matter how maybe how many issues I have with his initial story. Although I did not like the Fox pilot, Paul McGann, he took a lot more for him to sell me because of that was such a badly written thing. But Christopher Eccleston first starts out. By the end of the first episode, a new Doctor. I'm excited. When Christmas Invasion, when David Tennant first takes on, boom, I'm excited. I'm ready to go with this new Doctor. Matt Smith, I had my doubts going in, thinking this 26-year-old kid could play the Doctor. By the end of his initial adventure, The 11th Hour, which was a brilliant, wonderful fairy tale masterpiece of an introduction to a Doctor, I'm there. I'm sold, and I can't wait to see his adventures. That's what is supposed to happen with any new Doctor. It's not necessarily Ncuti's fault that at the end of in that third and final 60th anniversary episode, he was quote unquote bi-generated or split with the David Tennant Doctor, and now there are two Doctors coexisting in the same timeline, and therefore it's not like he's not picking up the mantle. That's not necessarily Ncuti's fault, but Ncuti is so poorly written in this episode, in an episode that has at least kind of a mildly interesting story concept, that he's really not given any chance to shine, to take over the mantle and go running with it whatsoever. People always do the Peter Cushing thing. He's not in the continuity of the TV show. Peter Cushing was of those two Dalek movies in the 60s that were made to cash in on the Dalek craze at the time. He's called Doctor Who in there. He's not human called Doctor Who. He's not a Time Lord from Gallifrey. So
you telling me that Rowan Atkinson isn't Doctor Who?
Well, he is for me, but no.
Yeah, okay.
I would take it. So, point being is Ncuti is not given a good introductory story. This is a weak one. It's silly. You have the first time you see him, aside from, of course, that previous episode where he was with David Tennant for a few minutes in his underwear. You see him dancing, twirling in a freaking kilt in a nightclub. That's not how you open up a new Doctor. Idiot Russell T Davies.
Oh, he sounds very open to me.
Yeah. Ugh. But I want to be fair to Ncuti. No, I got you. I want to be fair to Ncuti, but again, his performance is not great. But again, it's not really his fault. This is a very weak script, a terrible way to introduce a new Doctor and a new companion and a new beginning. It's almost. I won't say the writing is chibi level bad, because you can't be chibi level bad with the writing so far, but and he's not as bad as Jodie, but again, let's be honest, you can't be worse than Jodie.
Right.
He's in a good story with a good script. I might be able to buy into him. I'll quite honestly, this is all about agenda, so it would still be tough for me. This is just weak stuff, and we know that every episode is going to be filled with the same stuff. So it's pretty bad if you're a Doctor Who fan. This thing is mostly annoying, filled with some really ridiculous scenes, and I don't know. I guess if you like musical theater mixed with Doctor Who, maybe you'll like it. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, this episode, they had these kind of creatures that, to me, I don't know, other people were saying other stuff, but to me, they look like 2-bit gremlins to me.
It's pretty much what they were.
And for some reason, they wanted to eat a child, which was a weird plot line to begin with that I don't know that I like that much. And in addition, they were singing songs like show tunes. And at the beginning, when I saw the trailer, like the little snippet they showed, I thought that just the gremlins were singing show tunes. But then something even worse happens. Ncuti and the companion, they arrive there. And they start singing show tunes too. So everybody's singing show tunes, and I'm like, "What is this? This isn't Doctor Who."
He's doing it as a distraction, trying to be funny. See, Davies thinks it's funny. It's not funny, and that's what it was played for laughs in that sense. But first of all, how does one again? If you want to get, I know we should get technical in something that's fantasy and silly as this, but how does one baby feed that big giant monster and everybody? So whatever.
That is a good question.
Maybe he had a gastric bypass and he has a tiny tummy.
I guess so, because he's a pretty big monster. He's a pretty big goblin king. Whole point being is just, look, Doctor Who's been silly. Doctor Who can be silly and entertaining sometimes, but you can go overboard with it. And Russell T Davies, by the way, has gone on record as saying about this new series, which started at number 1, by the way. Well, they're calling it number 4 on Disney for some reason, but it's supposed to be saying it's starting at number 1. He has, or it will when it comes out this spring, I guess. He said that, look, this is no longer, if you're into the science fiction aspects of Doctor Who, you're going to be a little disappointed. But we're decided to go straight crazy fantasy now. It's going to be a very fantasy-oriented show, and he proved that with this episode.
Yes.
But Doctor Who's never been hardcore science fiction. It has always delved into the areas of fantasy, but it stayed close to within science fiction confines just enough. It did float. But now it looks like he said he's going full out fantasy, which means he's just going to get lazy writers that don't know how to write anything coherent or logical, even by Doctor Who standards, which again does play fast and move with the science. So, so get ready. This one is indicative of what we're looking at. You're going to get Ncuti being annoying and being, like I said, there are a couple of scenes when he's being intense and doctorish that you go, there may be a little doctor in there. And then other times he just totally loses it.
There were moments that he was with his companion and they were doing something, and I just thought, okay, if you just gave them a regular script that was better than this weird Show Tunes Gremlins one, maybe this could have been better. And they didn't get a good script. Sometimes it's not the fault of the actors. I think that there were a few moments, like you said, that I really thought that I could see him doing it, but his whole arrival has been littered with so much nonsense that it's already like he started off on the wrong foot. And this episode, even without all of the bad parts about it, just in general, it feels like if this was in the first tenure of Russell T Davies, it would be considered a mid-season filler episode and maybe the worst of the season. It's not the one that you expect that you introduce the Doctor, a brand new one, that you really need to bring out something special. And it just felt very small and it didn't have the magic for me.
Having a silly episode is something you usually think you'd earn after you've already established the character, because an opening, because I mean, just listening to you guys, I think about like, when is the silly episode? The silly episode's after when you need to decompress, after you've had something super dramatic happen, like the Doctor having to abandon Rose, and then you have an exhale of an episode where everything goes kind of goofy for a bit, and then you can move on to the next thing. If you start out silly, if that's how you first brand your new Doctor, that's, I mean, not to say the Doctor can't have comedy to him. I mean, David Tennant's first appearance, there was comedy there, but there was also that edge that really established his attitude. Yeah,
a Christmas episode can be fun and light. That's fine as well. I don't mind that either. Here's the problem with Davies, though. Davies has a couple of writing problems. Again, I'm in 2005 when he brought it back, I was very skeptical. I did end up liking the series for a good while until Moffat took over. Moffat was a better writer, but a terrible showrunner. Davies was a decent showrunner for a while, but he did a lot of things. He did a lot of things from get-go I did not like. I hate the Last Son of Gallifrey stuff, basically the Last Son of Krypton stuff. I hate the Time War stuff. All that stuff I don't like. Also, Russell T Davies, because he introduced the puppy love stuff with Rose, then with Martha. With Martha, at least he kind of changed that later with Donna and gave a better relationship with the Doctors. The relationship's not about, sex. But
Martha
his writing is often needlessly histrionic to a point. It's overly dramatic, including some of the Tennant episodes. So he gets way over the top dramatic sometimes. So you're probably going to see some of that. And it looks like Ncuti can play that. It's just that, and I don't mind him being, the Doctor, even in the crazy situation, sometimes is a very silly character, which is in a fun way. In a fun way, he could be silly at the wrong times. That's part of his charm. So that's okay. But like I said, and I don't mind a Christmas episode being a little silly. You just have to temper it a little bit. But don't worry, if you want the extreme to get away from the silly, he's going to do it. And it's going to be to a point where he gets very histrionic and probably in this case, very preachy.
There was something also in this episode, I don't know if you noticed, and maybe I'm the only one that noticed this, that he tells that Ruby girl, he's like, I once spent a very long and hot summer with Houdini. And it almost sounded like that he was implying that he and Houdini were more than friends. And I'm like, this is so awkward and weird. It didn't. Did you notice that, or
the third Doctor used to always, and other Doctors always mention knowing Houdini, and that's how he learned. That's how he learned how to get out of. How he learned a lot of stuff from Houdini. this is the first time, because this is something that has been, even in the original series,
Long
mentioning
and hot.
Houdini, this is the first time that Davies had to make it, well, you know what? He had to make it weird. He had to make it
the language of
weird.
yes. Before it was just like, when she, doctor, where'd you learn how to do that? Oh, from a gentleman, what was his name? Harold? No, it was Houdini. That's it. You know, 2 or 3 times they mentioned
he was
Houdini.
a nice chap. I met Houdini.
Yes.
I'll see you later. But here he's like, I spent
Now
a long, hot summer with him.
He couldn't just say I learned it from Houdini and be funny. He had to be sick and weird.
Yeah.
That was weird.
But not unexpected. Not shocking in the least, knowing where it's coming from.
But I just want to say another thing. I also think that they did a disservice to Nishudi Gatwa. I think that if they would have just not talked about his preferences in the press, like as part of why it's so important, and just not talked about all this identity politics, just give a show that's good. Don't push all this weird skirt and Houdini and underwear and I don't know what. Just let him be a regular doctor in a way by not giving him the same treatment that they would give anybody else. Is this really equality if they're just sort of showcasing certain things about him, which didn't even need to be a part of this character?
No, this is how it works. The Doctor Who is now a platform for messaging. Doctor Who's now a platform for representation. If you can't see yourself as a thing, you can never be that thing. That is the here. So if they don't have a gay Doctor Who, well, then all the gay people in the world can't imagine themselves being as cool as Doctor Who, because gay people don't have personal agency or imagination, or can't empathize with someone who doesn't exactly match them in all ways, shapes, and forms. That's the thinking, and it's the thinking that's been at Doctor Who and Star Wars. Name your pop culture monoliths over the last 10 years or 12 years or so, and that's how it works.
This was never a part of this franchise. It had nothing to do with it or with this character, and they're just sort of twisting and bending the character to fit something that they're pushing, which really is a shame.
Yeah, this is being only a casual Whovian. I can't even call myself that. I'm a casual Doctor Who fan, but I have watched with great sympathy to the Doctor Who community over the last few years in particular, because they're going exactly through the same thing I went through with Star Wars and with Marvel and with so many Star Trek, for me being a bit more niche, Vampire the Masquerade, other things where you just see this, as the Critical Drinker says, the message seeping in insidiously into every corner, because if you say anything sideways, oh, well, you're a phobe or an ist or something else, and you're driven out of the industry for the right thinking to take over.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, in Doctor Who, of all things, is sadly double down on the bad, right? Like, I mean, we went from bad to worse at this point.
And we all loved Captain Jack, who was not just a gay. I mean, he was an omnisexual character, and he did make the innuendos and all that kind of stuff that both Stephen Moffat created him during during Eccleston's run, and during on RTD's watch, and nobody cared. Everyone knew what he was, but he was a great character because he was a character first.
Right.
And he happened to be, something that would bang anything that moves. And we laughed. We thought it was funny. And he was a brilliant character. We all loved him. And no one was, was judging him. It's just that you didn't need to do that with any other character. Create one and do it like that. That's the way you do it. And it's not even message. It wasn't anything messagey about it. Everyone just liked him.
And there was one other problem with this episode, which everybody, I don't know who people that watch Doctor Who knows that Chibnall, the main thing he did that ruined the franchise, one of the things was the Timeless Children. And everybody was hoping that Russell T Davies would come back and sort of retcon that out of existence. Every episode he doubles down, he triples down, and this time
he did it on this one too,
quadrupled. The doctor sees this baby and he starts getting all emotional because he's like, I don't remember my past now, meaning all of that Timeless Children.
He said, I was abandoned. I was
abandoned, which is because of the whole weird Timeless Children thing that no fan of Doctor Who likes.
It's the
and
worst.
Yet they still bring it up. They won't leave that thing alone.
And he's friends with Chibi. And he, I happen to know, even Russell T Davies, who did have some Doctor Who fan in him, he's just more into the politics. He came into the show originally as a Doctor Who fan as a kid. Even he has made fun of the Timeless Children after Chibi did it, but then I guess he's making his penance now, and he's decided I can be mean to my buddy and make fun of it, or I can double down on it and piss off all those horrible phobes that are whining about my show and chase them away like I could chase all the other ratings away.
For sure. So
well, and also that Disney money has given him incentive to do just that.
Yep.
For sure.
Well, that being said, let's see what the audience says. Jason Webster sends in an Australian $10. Says, today within Hollywood, there's no adherence amongst screenwriters to the fundamentals of good classic storytelling. The level of both coherency and consistency is missing. Yep. That's a big part of it.
Indeed.
I think another part of it might. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you guys have talked about this before. I really have to wonder sometimes how much of what we're seeing is either an absence of talent or talent having to conform to the expectations of the customer and having to dumb it down to make them happy. You know, like if you sent in a studio really smart script that had really good characters but not check all the boxes, would you then, just to maintain your career, you know, soften it up a bit or give them what the audience wants so that you get your paycheck? I always wonder about that part of it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do compromise. I can think of a few examples, but anyway, LDG hashtag free the net. It's gifted 10 Midnight's Edge After Dark memberships. Thank you so much. We do plan on doing something for the members this week, so that's perfect timing for that gift. Thank you so much, LDG. And speaking of members, Pinochet's Helicopter Tours has been a member for 28 months. Thank you for the support. And Pinochet's Helicopter Tours also sends in $2 and says it's not superhero fatigue, it's propaganda fatigue. Wow. That's kind of a good place to send us down the path of our next story, right after we acknowledge Jeremy Winfield and Gonzalo Bergali for being members. Thank you so very much for being members. We appreciate the support. Hail indeed. And Goddess of Whim as well for 32 months. Wow. Holy crap. Holy. Thank you for that. And of course, Gonzalo for just over 2 years and Jeremy for 6 months. We appreciate the support here at the channel. And yeah, this weekend at the box office, being a 4-day weekend of sorts, kind of, sort of, didn't bode well for Aquaturd. And the surprise hit was, at least for most people besides myself and maybe a few others who kind of thought that Color Purple had a chance. Yeah, Color Purple did really, really well on Christmas Day, 18 million. But same can't be said for Aquaturd. Yeah, Aquaturd is not doing well.
Really?
In fact, let's see if I can find it here. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom brought in only $10.5 million from 3,706 venues on Monday. Comic book sequel starring Jason Momoa as the King of Atlantis opened with a lower than expected 38 million through the 4-day holiday frame. And actually that's worse because that started like Thursday night or whatever with the preview. So Thursday through Friday, they have not done very well at all.
What was the Marvels preview opening? Was it 36 million?
I think the Marvels did a little bit better than this, actually.
Really? Okay. All right.
But that's a little bit of different time frame. But yeah, this is not good. In fact, I think it's worse than The Flash, Shazam, and Blue Beetle, if I remember correctly. But Wonka seems to be trucking along for Warner Brothers. But outside of that being said, I mean, unless anybody has anything they want to discuss real quick about the other films that were mentioned there, or the stuff that came out this weekend, I think the biggest problem is the superhero fatigue. But I want to open the floor real quick on anything else you guys may want to discuss real quick.
Did Wonka do well?
Yeah, it's doing fairly well. It passed the 250 million mark worldwide. It's done 86 million domestically plus at this point. So yeah, it appears that Wonka will probably squeak by with a decent profit.
That movie was so boring that I'm procrastinating with my review. I actually started working on a review, but the movie is so boring that it bores me even to talk about it. But that's why I can't believe that you're saying it's doing well. I mean, I've looked a few times and I can't believe people are going to see it. I was sitting there in the theater and I thought to myself, this is awful. This is so boring.
Wow.
You know, it was a musical. People were singing all the time. Maybe some people like musicals.
I guess somebody.
Well, the musical is supposedly making a comeback, I'm told.
Wasn't Color People? I mean, the color, whatever it is, a musical.
Yeah, it's a musical. It's the musical version. Yeah.
So that one's doing all right. What is it with musicals?
Yeah, that's the thing. I said that I wasn't so sure this thing that the Color Purple was going to do bad or anything like that, because for some reason these movies that are musicals based on old movies that became Broadway plays, and then they do the musical movie version of that, they always seem to do well. You had The Producers, Hairspray, I think actually did better than the original film, for instance. This is following suit. I'm not surprised. There's an audience for it. It's not us. There's an audience for it. I mean, I like the original film. I'm more surprised it did well because basically, you know, you didn't have any stars or Steven Spielberg directing it, right? Like, that's what the first original film had going for it. This one was just kind of like plopped out there with Oprah Winfrey boasting it, but that's about it. But then again, she kind of has that magic touch with things.
Hey, Price. Price, I'd ask you, you've seen the Wonka film. Yes. It was boring, but was there heavy-handed messaging in it?
You know, I'd say that there was, if you were really digging, there's some certain things that I could see that were sort of messaging. I didn't feel it was heavy-handed messaging. I felt that it was more just an unnecessary movie. I think that Gene Wilder is Willy Wonka, and Timothée Chalamet doesn't convince me. If I'm thinking of Gene Wilder, he's no Gene Wilder. Timothée Chalamet can sing. He's an okay actor, but he lacks that type of charm and sort of comedic ability that Gene Wilder had, that he really embraced this character. And I don't feel that Timothée Chalamet has that magic. So for me, that was maybe one of the weakest parts of the movie. In addition, they keep singing all the time. Yes, I mean, you're talking about agenda. I think, you know, there's a policeman who's bad. There's they did also some swapping, that a character was one way in this movie was a different way. There was a young girl who was sort of taken advantage of. I think that if you really dug deep into it, you could find, and the priest wasn't good. There's certain things that I could show you that if we looked at them at face value, they'd be a bit agenda-based, but they weren't done so harshly and meanly. So it wasn't as mean-spirited. I just thought that the movie was really long. They were singing too much and dancing, and they were annoying me. And it didn't feel like it captured the spirit of the original for me. But maybe there's a new generation. They like Timothée Chalamet. He's dating a Kardashian or whatever. He goes out there, he sings, he dances. Maybe there's young ladies that like that.
He's huge on like social media. Yeah,
that's probably it. You know what I mean? Like, he has that kind of following. You say, I even saw posters and they like write really big, like Timothée Chalamet and whatever. And I think maybe there's a demographic that wants to go see the movie with him in it. But it surprises me.
Yeah, the reason I asked is I was curious because I'm wondering if with as much heavy-handedness as your standard family category would be, like Disney has been failing so much, I wonder if there's not sort of a hunger for just a good old-fashioned family film, and that maybe that's why it's doing well, is because
it wasn't as bad as the Disney one. I still think that I could point out and show you that there was some underlying thing that didn't feel like they liked. I mean, once the priest is bad and the policeman is bad, you kind of feel like, you know, but still, at the same time, it didn't feel mean-spirited. So if you're a family, you probably don't notice this, and it's fine, I guess.
Well, since the two musicals did well, Aquaman 2 should have subtitled itself Aquaman 2 Electric Boogaloo, and they had a better chance.
No, they should have had a crossover with The Little Mermaid, and they would have been set.
Even better.
I'm in the minority here that I think that Aquaman 2 wasn't the worst movie that I'd ever seen. It wasn't a good movie.
I didn't either.
I
better than the Marvels.
Yeah, I was better than the Marvels. I didn't hate it. It wasn't a great movie, but I didn't hate it. I think that with Aquaman 2, a lot of all of these losses have to do with James Gunn. I feel like everything that they did with Cavill, bringing him, getting rid of him, doing that announcement. I don't know. I'm not saying that Aquaman would have made a ton of money, but I do think that it did hurt its bottom line. Really disappointing. There was a core group of DC fans that actually wanted to see those movies, and I think that Warner Brothers, through all its different ownerships and whatever, really jerked around the fans for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know if I can agree with that, because here's the thing. They were already doing shitty before that was announced.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I don't think anybody notices. Like, since Birds of Prey and a few of the other ones, they've been doing that crappy.
Maybe.
I think the bigger thing is the big turd in the room in this movie. That's why they're doing so.
You know what? Also, that's also not a smart decision to have her in the movie. I'm sure there were a lot of things. There's probably a list of a few things that chased people away. That is one of them, for sure.
I'm not sure if they'd have recast her or something. I still don't think it would have done all that well. And I thought it was okay, but like the first movie, I watched it one time, it was all right, then I forget about it and never wanted to care about it again.
Right, I'll never watch it again.
I mean, I liked the stuff with him and his brother. I actually thought, there's the shame of it. You know, Patrick Wilson should play Aquaman, not Bro Lobo.
Patrick Wilson was the
good.
best part of the movie. He's probably in the first movie you had Willem Dafoe in him, and in this movie you had him. And any scene that has him and Aquaman, those were the best.
That stuff.
Yes,
good.
And the brothers, and it kind of was like a Thor and Loki situation where now they have to work together. I thought there was something interesting there, and those were probably the strongest parts of the movie.
I agree, but we knew it wasn't going to do very well, and they did too, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know how that first one made $1 billion. That's ridiculous. I always thought, how did that thing made that much money?
Optimism.
Tom probably knows. Tom, why did the first one make a lot of money?
I know too, but I don't like that I know.
I think I know. I think that during those years. No, I mean the MCU was doing very well then. You got
the
all
MCU was doing well. It was
yeah, that's true.
There was a lot of hype for superhero.
This one did have all that stupid environmental woke drivel in it, but other than that, there was no woke crap other than that. Garbage.
Right, that was just it was minor. It was just some dumb. I don't mind if all you want to do is say, "Oh, I love the environment. I love the environment." I mean, I can get over that. You know what I mean? I don't really care.
Well, that's been in Aquaman comics since the 60s, so it's not like they, even though Hollywood's been doing that kind of garbage for years anyway, so it's fine. I'm just saying that's something that actually does go part and parcel with the character, even though it's silly. Yeah.
For sure.
Wasn't that the plot of the Abyss? We were destroying the planet, so the underwater aliens decided to try to wipe everything out with tidal waves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they've been doing the environment thing for years.
A long time, yeah.
I'm thinking of Star Trek.
It's making a comeback, too, yeah.
Captain Planet's on the way. Cinematic Captain Planet, can't wait. If you ever needed an excuse to do an environmental thing and be getting away with it because of the established IP, Captain Planet's your way to go.
I actually think that as long as Hollywood was focusing on these type of environmental things only, I think that they were pretty much doing whatever they wanted with the messaging, and nobody really made a big deal about it. Nobody really cared. It's when they started going into these other territories really and leaning very heavily into them. I think that's when the problem started.
Well, I think it's the difference between a warning about something that affects everybody versus an accusation of your value as a person is the great difference in the plot points there. Because you can say like, oh, the environment or or war in general or disease or something. It's like those are things that affect everybody. Once you start putting messaging into your movie that's trying to make a value factor out of someone's skin color or gender or something else, then you feel personally attacked versus feeling like, oh, I'm empathizing with the characters about an external threat that, Mother Nature affects us all kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like Ian's saying here, the message isn't necessarily the problem, it's the implementation, right? And that's why environmental messages are easier to implement in films.
Right.
Especially with characters like Aquaman and stuff like that. But I guess the bigger question here, and that's why I got this thumbnail up here, is it over for superhero movies? Have we officially reached the age of fatigue? I mean, I guess I got to ask you guys this question. Do you think it's done with? Do you think we're kind of past this point? Unless it's like a Superman, a Batman, or a Spider-Man, people won't care.
The answer will be, this is my prediction, if Superman Legacy, just as you can't get much more iconic than Superman, if Superman Legacy is a great movie that bombs, then yes.
Yep. That would be the litmus test.
I think that it would be good if for like 5 years nobody would do any of these movies, and then I think if you came back 5 years later and started doing them and doing them well, people would get very excited. I don't like the whole idea of superhero fatigue, because I think that it became fatigue when they turned they did all the agenda peddling. Until the part that they were doing the agenda peddling, people were very excited about superheroes, and I think they certainly expedited the demise of this genre, or whatever you want to call it.
No, that's true. That's a lot true. You know, but every genre runs its course to an extent. Remember when westerns ruled the day, and TV and movies, and
they got greedy though. It didn't go away for good reasons. It went away for all the wrong reasons. I think that had they managed it differently, there was still more to be done. Maybe there would have been some ups and downs. Maybe it wouldn't have all been peak MCU Infinity Saga, but I think that there was still a lot to work with. And you know how sometimes you have those kind of old TV shows where there's a bomb and somebody pulls a cable and then the timer goes really fast? Then I think all that agenda stuff, that's what happened.
Oh yeah, that's fair to say. It's fair to say. Yeah, but I mean, I think maybe this fatigue has a little bit to do with it when you had 8 or 9 freaking superhero movies this year. Even if they didn't have all the woke crap in them, I think that
average the last 5 years we've had anywhere between 5 or more.
Count them up this year. Was something like 7 or 8? That even if they weren't woke drivel in there, that's a little much.
Oh, this is something that came out today on Twitter that I wanted to read because I think it speaks to what you're talking about here. There was a quote from Toho about Godzilla, and they said, this is in an article from, I think, I forget where it was, but anyway, it reads, they said, they were asked, like, when was the next Godzilla movie happening? And they said, it won't happen for quite a while yet. Quote, movies are the power of works. I want to have a good idea, a good script, a good director, and a good cast, and work on it carefully, because Godzilla is a character that is worth it, unquote. Superhero movies have been treated like assembly line items. They're not being handled by craftsmen. That's been the problem, is that you could have a superhero movie come out every 3 years like a Star Wars franchise, and people would still be wanting it if it's a good movie. Because like we talked about on yesterday's show or whatever, if you make a movie, it's there forever. If you speed run it into garbage, that's what's going to be there forever. If you take your time, 3 years passing isn't going to matter to somebody who's looking at both movies in a dual pack that they buy off the shelf 5 years down the line. And I think that was the biggest problem with Marvel, and certainly with DC trying to catch up to Marvel, is that they just speed kills, as they say, and they just rushed it all right into the dirt. They took a good thing and tried to mass produce it, and it just never worked.
True.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I agree with all your guys' points, right? Like, I have a hard time believing in some of the things the audience is pointing out too, that if, for the most part, these movies were average to good or really good, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, and they could have squeezed another decade or two out of these films easily. But the woke shit has kind of hastened the demise of these films. And again, I know we've had Spider-Man movies and some other ones do well, but I think we've gotten to a point here where, unless it's a certain superhero or a certain brand at this point, people are going to be leery, and they're not going to jump on the train just because. I mean, because outside of Spider-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy, people have turned away from the MCU, and people do not trust the DCU at all anymore, whatever you want to call it, the DC universe. So in that respect, some people might just be waiting to see what happens with Superman. That's true. I think going back to our conversation earlier, it's a number of things with Aquaman as to why this movie is failing on a massive level. It's not an isolated incident, though. We had both Captain Marvel 2, or the Marvels, failed to live up to the original film in the same fashion, and Indiana Jones as well in that matter. I mean, as bad as a lot of people thought the last Indiana Jones film was before this one, it still managed to do like $700 or $800 million in the box office, which would be well over $1 billion by today's standards, with inflation, right? So that's my point, is we've had 3 movies this year at least, and I'm sure there's a few other examples that could be brought to the table, where you've had billion-dollar films on their last outing that did not manage to even remotely live up to and flat out bomb in most cases.
Well, it also shows, like in the case of Captain Marvel, it shows the Emperor had no clothes. Captain Marvel came out in between two of the biggest comic book movies of all time.
True, but is it that or is it the fatigue at this point? That's the question I'm asking. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, well, when in the absence of the wave, like, again, going to Captain Marvel was riding the wave of its betters as far as both comic book movies, fan appreciation, and recognition, and the momentum of it at the time. It kept in isolation. There's no momentum there. But on top of that, the other thing that I want to at least bring up is, and the one thing about the Superman legacy, because if anything is going to save the comic book genre, it's going to be whatever DC does next with Superman. I don't think Marvel has a shot in the heck, but Marvel is guilty of this. DC's Warner's been guilty of this, is putting these properties in the hands of people that have no knowledge or appreciation of the characters and material. I mean, the one that comes to mind was after WandaVision came out, and Jack, whatever her last name is, the showrunner for WandaVision, she comes out after the fact and says, "I had no idea who Mephisto was until after we wrapped." And I'm like, what? Even if you're just the most passing Marvel fan, you cannot possibly know anything about Scarlet Witch without having some idea of who Mephisto is, even casually. What? And things like that. And like Nia DaCosta with the Marvels, she doesn't care about the character. She wasn't a big fan. Disney and Snow White hiring actresses that hate the movie. If you don't have people that care about this stuff, it's already on a losing footing. That's the only reason why I have some sideways. I'm not a DC guy, but I appreciate the sort of knock-on effect that both studios have on each other's success. James Gunn actually loves comic books. At least I can give him that. I don't know if he loves the same ones I do or loves them in the same way, but he obviously cares and knows a bit about the characters. So that's the one ray of hope I have for both the genre and at least that particular film, is that the person in charge of it gives a rip.
His entire career lies on that movie. On Superman Legacy.
Oh yeah, he can't go any higher than this. He can't go any higher than this.
If that isn't a huge success, if he doesn't just knock that one out of the park, I don't know what's going to happen to him.
Yep, that's for sure. That's for sure.
And especially after he got rid of everybody. And listen, I understand the Snyderverse was a problem, and I have my issues with Snyder. I do think, this was my opinion, that once Zaslav took over, he should have focused on just making maybe one movie with Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, even with all those people, with Aquaman. Just make one movie, say you're tying up the whole DCEU, and maybe you create a little buzz. And anybody that has bought tickets throughout the years, maybe they kind of see it as a final goodbye to these actors and these people, even though this thing was very poorly managed. The way he just
that's what the Flash should have been.
Right. But the way he just came in, the Flash was sorry, I don't want to say a bad word. It was a crappy, ill-conceived thing to begin with. It was always to try to get rid of people they didn't like and insert new agendas and new whatever. The whole idea of it was crappy, and the movie ended up crappy, just like the idea was.
Total waste.
And I get it. And there was a lot of people who wanted them to stick with a lot of those actors, and there was a point where they thought of that, but unfortunately, the box office just wasn't showing that. They did not generate enough interest with Henry Cavill coming back in the Black Adam movie to do any good for that.
It was just a post-credit scene where they just...
Regardless, but yeah, I get you. But like at this point, you got to also understand, like, my problem is from this angle is either you either reboot or you reset. Okay, what we have here is this wackiness now where his Suicide Squad,
his
crew,
wife,
which includes his wife and some other things are sticking around, but everything else is being changed. It's like, oh no, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You need to let things go. I don't give a shit if he hires his wife as a new character in something else, but you have to let that go at this point. You cannot attach to that anymore. You can't have both ways. You can't.
I think general audiences will forgive that if the product is good. But here's the other thing that gives me an idea that it's not superhero fatigue is, what is the primary ingredient to cynicism? Hope. if you don't have hope for better or for the future or for the past to come back again, cynicism doesn't work. There's so much cynicism over the results of the movies lately. People are starving for something good. The amount of disappointment there is tells me that people are just waiting for it to return back to the good old days of 2008, 2010, when you had Marvel movies at their peak, effectively, more or less. So I think there's hope, but like we've said, it really hinges. The whole genre effectively hinges on James Gunn, which for whatever else I might have to say about the guy and his product and output and everything else, and his public comments in the last year or two, I don't envy him his position, but I hope he succeeds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
there you go.
I mean, I wonder though, because at this point, it's the audience is not willing to give these movies a shot anymore. See, that's what I'm getting at. Unless it's a certain type of film, and I think they learned their lesson from things like Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange 2 and a few of these other films that have really kind of disappointed them when they've gone in and thought, oh, this is going to be a big deal because it's supposed to be a part of like Captain Marvel, as you pointed out before, was in between the two biggest films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe to that date and ever at this point, pretty much. Same thing with Doctor Strange, came right on the heels of Spider-Man, and he was in Spider-Man. So logic led the audience to believe that this would be a follow-up to that and not a follow-up to the WandaVision show. And I think that's the bigger problem here we haven't touched on, is that they have, see, the thing with, and Clobby, you'll remember this more, so not to pick on you for being older, I'm just saying, like when you brought up earlier that they oversaturated Westerns by, it was dominating both film and television, right? Like you had television, you had Gunsmoke, Wagon Train, and all these other fucking all these Bonanza, all these other shows on at the same time. You had John Wayne dominating the box office, and Clint Eastwood came off of television into film, for instance, as well, which was at the tail end of, and that's the thing, is like Clint Eastwood came in and that was the tail end of the Westerns, folks. We had a good spout right at the end. So I think that's maybe the only thing we have to say about that. Maybe we haven't reached the fatigue part of this yet, is because we haven't got a good spurt of really, really good movies, and then it's just going to die off. But that would just be if history repeats itself. But I wonder, Clobby, and I want to get your take on this first, if the television part wasn't the bigger problem here. And I'm not talking about some of the smaller shows like on CW and crap like that. I'm talking about the fact that the MCU decided we're going to make this shit that's on Disney Plus tie in with the movies, and if you don't see these shows, then you're fucking lost. I think that was where they lost the audience big time. I'm curious what you think, and then we'll go down the line.
I think that probably plays into it. I'm not sure how many potential moviegoers even know about the. I mean, if they happen to have Disney Plus, they know about it. But like, for example, when you're coming out with a new Marvel movie or whatever, I'm not sure how many of them even take that into consideration. I think, in other words, how many of them, when they see ads for the Marvels, go, hey, let's go see that. I wonder if we have to go watch anything else before we have to see it. Other than, I wonder, I don't know. I'm not so sure a lot of them even know about it. They're not like geeks that follow all this stuff. So I don't know if they know about those shows that much. I mean, obviously, a lot of them probably have Disney Plus and they know about the shows, but they see these shows and they go, what do those have to do with the movies? So unless they're plugged into any kind of geek network or have geeks in their family that tell them, oh yeah, these are tied in with those movies. They're knockoffs of the movies, or I'm not so sure how many of them factor that in when it comes to going to watch the movie. So I don't know how connected it is, to be honest with you. Obviously, geeks know about it, but as far as big movie, I don't know. I think I don't know how many. I'm not sure if that factors in or not, Tom. I don't know, but not much. I don't think. I think they're just tired of these things. I think they see these commercials and they see for the past couple of years, and they're not seeing Captain America and Iron Man in these ads. They're not seeing. Oh, they're not. When was the last one that did fantastic bang up business? They saw Spider-Man and they like Spider-Man. That's why they went. Well, they see the Marvels. They don't know who the hell that is. I don't care what the first Captain Marvel allegedly did at the box office. Nobody looked at the trailer for the Marvels and goes, oh, yeah, remember how great Captain Marvel was? Well, I got to go see the sequel. It's not even called Captain Marvel 2.
Yeah, because it's actually not just a sequel to Captain Marvel, Klobby.
Exactly.
It's actually a sequel to Captain Marvel, WandaVision, The Marvels,
whereas
and a bunch of other shit.
Right.
Actually, Secret Wars.
It's not like
I'm missing like one or two other things.
Miss Marvel, Secret Wars,
yeah,
all that
Captain
stuff.
Marvel.
It's not like you're sitting around watching the Super Bowl and you see an ad for a Captain America movie or an Iron Man movie. The Thor, the last big name. I think the last big name of those characters that was big, what was it? Was the stupid Thor: Love and Thunder movie. And initially, a few people went to see that initially. Then it got bad word of mouth, and it was done. Garbage. No one liked it, but at least it drew some people in at first who liked Thor from the other movies. And then what happened? Over. So when's the last time they saw an ad for an Iron Man movie or an Avengers movie? It's been what now? 5 years? 3 or 4 years?
Both of these brands have been polluted. I feel like
brands are polluted.
That's
exactly.
why people. You were talking about Tom. You were mentioning Doctor Strange too, and yes, it was a bait and switch. Everybody was excited after the Spider-Man movie. Everybody went to see it, and then when they saw it, it felt like their money was just taken from them. And I'm sure they felt that way with Thor: Love and Thunder. Suddenly Aquaman and Captain Marvel do have something in common. Both of them weren't great movies, and they both made over $1 billion during that specific moment in time. But I think that audiences, with all the messaging, with all the oversaturation, and with all the lazy writing and poor movies and all the bait and switches, I think that audiences have just become wiser, and they don't want to spend their money on crap.
Right, yeah, but you're not enticing them into the theater either. Because they're not seeing ads. Like I said, it's been the last time we saw an ad, ads for a movie with a big bankable hero from those huge successful Avengers movies. It was Thor, right? There's nothing after that, and that didn't do that great. So
Thor, I agree with Darth here. Like Thor's problem was because it didn't really tie into much else.
No, it didn't. No. It had the Guardians of the Galaxy at the beginning.
The only thing it really picked up after was Endgame, which is rightfully where it should have. And that's how these Avengers events should have worked. Like, none of these other movies should affect any other character until they started doing just cross. See, because that's where I was confused here. I thought after Endgame, they were going to stop doing less of this build up to the big stories, and it was going to be more buddy films, kind of like Thor Ragnarok, which that would make more sense to me. It's like, quit doing all this big stuff. Do these little side stories where, the Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor. I thought we were going to have, that kind of a team up. I thought that was one of the initial plans. But I think that went out the door as soon as James Gunn did as well. But point being, that's what I thought the next logical step of this was going to be, right? Not to do all these big, huge fucking bring them all together stories, but just kind of go back and do some smaller stories like Spider-Man and Daredevil together would have been brilliant, right? Things like that make sense.
I think my biggest complaint about, Multiverse of Madness and the Marvels.
My point I was making was, Ragnarok wasn't such. It just didn't have the same problems. It was just a bad movie, I think, was what I was getting at. Sorry, Scribe.
Yes.
I was going to say that Multiverse of Madness and the Marvels effectively act as paid DLC for Disney Plus. I mean, you don't get anything out of that unless you've seen those shows. Half the plot is missing, and that's not how you make a movie. That's not how the television and movie thing should have worked. The best dynamic for Marvel TV versus movies, as far as I'm concerned, was Daredevil season 1. It existed alongside the universe, but was not directly affected by it, and was not dependent on it. That's the major failing of the Disney Plus cinematic commingling of the everything. These things have to be able to stand on their own 2 feet as their own items. Multiverse of Madness does not work unless you've seen WandaVision. Even
if you've seen WandaVision, I think that Multiverse of Madness was a very crappy movie.
Oh no, it was a crappy movie unto itself. No, that's the other thing too, is that unto itself it was a crappy movie because it was weighed down by having to connect to this other plot that was already nonsense because Wanda was not somebody to be sympathetic with.
They shoved America Chavez in there, which that had nothing to do with any other show. That's just weird agenda peddling. She seemed like she was just like tagged on to that movie, and I don't even know what she was doing there. It's nothing personal. I don't know if it's not my favorite character, but she felt so shoehorned into that movie and contributed nothing to it.
Yeah, well, the debriefing. I mean, just as one example, the debriefing on Multiverse of Madness. If you listen to the quotes from, I forget what his name is all of a sudden, but he looks like a dollar store Henry Cavill with a mustache. The writer of Multiverse of Madness, and he kept talking over and over again about how they were basically just spitballing plot points up to the last minute all the time because nobody had a coherent story to begin with. Because they were just trying to manufacture something.
Sam Raimi said that after he filmed the movie, he had to refilm most of the movie. It was one of those interviews that he said something, and then Bruce Campbell said more than he did. He actually spoke a bit more about it. Then they both kind of shut up, which probably somebody told them to shut up. Yeah. But it never is a good sign when you film a movie and then somebody says, okay, now you got to refilm the movie. That's never a good sign.
But going back to Tom's original thing about the TV shows, yes, the commingling of the TV shows is a detriment. Trying to reconfigure entire cinematic endeavors to fit with a TV show when those things are on completely different schedules, have completely different audiences. If you want to cultivate an audience on, like when Daredevil showed up as a cameo in Spider-Man Far From Home, right? That was an audience applause line, but it wasn't. But his appearance wasn't dependent on having watched the Daredevil show. Any comic book fan, boy, a lawyer shows up who's blind with red glasses. I wonder who that is. It doesn't matter, and that was the problem. Is that the only other example that I have that kind of it dabbled with the worst equation of it was the first season or so of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where it was operating, reacting to what was going on in the Marvel Universe in real time. The only part of that actually worked really well is when those episodes showed up just as Captain America Winter Soldier was going on.
Yeah, those were all right.
Hydra. That was timed perfectly. That was one of those things where you had to be there. It worked really well when it happened. It doesn't work before, it doesn't work after, but at the moment it was perfect. But that was also the failing of that show, is that it had to sort of like slow walk its events and dance around different things to wait to that moment. Once it took off on its own, once Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. said, okay, we're still in the Marvel Universe, we can still refer to things, but we're going to kind of do our own thing, parallel but not intersecting. That's when the show got popcorn guilty pleasure fun in its latter seasons. And that's the best way to do it. The Daredevil season 1 formula, that's how you do it if you're going to do it at all. DC did it right by having a separate universe for its CW shows, so you could enjoy that as one thing and know that you were watching something different once you got to the movies. If you're going to have them work in the same universe, they have to be their own thing. They can only barely intersect, but only in spirit, and they have to stand on their own 2 feet.
I bailed out of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. after maybe 3-4 seasons. I think I bailed out.
Yeah. It's a tough love. I'll give it that. It was a tough love for me to get to the point. And at the very last couple seasons, for me. Yeah. The last season or two, man, it didn't go completely off base, but someone in the writer's room snuck in some really cringe, woke nonsense.
I figured.
But you know, I still like Clark Gregg, the whole Coulson thing.
Don't watch his tweets then.
Yeah, I know. Like I say, guilty pleasure.
I know.
I hated that show, but it did work on the idea that you're talking about, Scribe, and that was the movies could affect the show, but it did its own thing, and the show never affected the movies, right? So you didn't have to have
it did in the background if you really want to get nerdy about it.
That one Avenger time, and that was it, and it was so kind of silly and tangential that it was like,
yeah, I know.
Yeah. And I know what you mean. It was the aircraft thing, yeah.
I once met Clark Gregg's wife.
In the biblical sense?
No, I just met Jennifer Grey. I once met her.
That's Jennifer. Okay. Oh, he's right. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he's married to her.
I think so. Am I mistaken? I thought he's married to Jennifer Grey.
Could be.
I have no idea.
He's such a jerkweed on Twitter.
Oh,
yeah.
Fans, yeah.
She seemed nice. I don't know. I think she's also very political. They probably both are.
Yeah, he's very political. He's a tool.
I like the character of Coulson. I don't know. Whatever.
I do like Coulson. Yeah,
I do like Coulson. I do like Coulson, and she was nice to me when I met her. I mean, that's worth something.
That's a fair cop. Yeah, it is. Always nice to be nice.
Yeah, I mean, even if you don't agree with people, if at least they meet people or you talk to them and they're nice to you, I mean, that's something that they still get a few points for that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's even nicer if they don't agree, but they're
civil
nice.
disagreement. It's a dying art.
Sure.
Civil disagreement.
I don't have to agree with people about their political views or whatever it is. It just, and I myself am not a very political person to begin with. Yeah. I don't care if you have a certain view, as long as it's not that you're coming at me and saying, if you don't agree with my view exactly, then you're not legit.
Well, just don't go for a ride with her. That's all.
Why?
That's a deep cut. Oh, she was with, and this is the weird thing, is she was dating
Matthew Broderick.
Broderick, who played her fucking brother in Ferris Bueller. Right. But yeah, when they hit that guy or that person in Ireland, was it a lady? I think it was a lady in Ireland or whatever.
Never heard of that. Never heard about that.
That was
that was years ago.
In a way, I don't know if Matthew Broderick has ever fully recovered from that. I feel like he was never the same after that incident. Maybe it's just me.
Never heard of it.
No, I think that was marrying Horseface is what did that.
That probably didn't help.
Oh yeah,
that's not nice, Tom.
Oh, it was a lady and her daughter. That's right. Yeah, I was gonna say yeah.
Oh wow, I never.
I mean, if that doesn't change you, I don't know what would. Even if it's a complete accident, obviously tragedy all over the place. If that doesn't change you, I don't know that you're human.
Yeah,
they were together, Price, but I guess they're divorced now, according to what they're saying in the chat.
Oh, okay. So at the time when I met her, I think she was his wife. I'm talking about Clark Gregg.
Clark Gregg, yeah. I like Clark Gregg, the actor, and I like Coulson, yeah.
All right, well, let's see what the chat is saying. Jason Webster sends in 10 Australian. Thank you for that. It says they need to allow the genre to breathe, develop genuine anticipation amongst audiences by staggering the product release of films within the comic book genre. Oversaturation equals mandatory. Mundanity of IP.
Yeah.
If I could read today.
Exactly. Yeah, do the Star Wars thing. 3 years in between.
And I mean, at the same time, there is an argument to be said. Well, if it's good, then it shouldn't matter, which is true. Which is also true. Like, you can do 10 fucking superhero movies in a year. As long as 8 of the 10 are good, then you're good. You're golden. But at this point, we had, 6 or 7, like you said, Clobby, this year alone?
Yeah, something like that. Crazy.
Name the good one.
About all of them.
Guardians of the Galaxy is like the only good one this year.
I thought
that's like the only that I can think of offhand that was any good.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, I mean, and when the best things that certain people can say about like Aquaman is that it wasn't woke or overly woke. But I mean,
it's a low bar.
That's a low fucking bar, right? Like you have nothing better at this point. Spider-Man came out last year or the year before, Chris. But yeah. Or are you talking about Into the Spider-Verse? Well, that was even kind of controversial and divisive to a point, but it did do better than the first film at the box office. That's true.
Yeah, the bar is so low, though, is like, how good was Guardians 3? I mean, it just, I mean, it's a matter of I think it was
received fairly well. I mean, I guess we'll see down the road, but I mean,
I kind of liked it a little bit better than the second Guardians, which I thought was also.
That's what I've heard most people say, Clobby. I mean, I'm on the other side of the rope where I thought the first two, 2 I thought was better, or one of the better of the films.
2 had some issues.
No, some people don't like part 2. Yeah, I know.
I like it, but yeah, they're all not that great to me, to be honest with you. They're not the Guardians that I really cared about from comics, but I like those movies. They're entertaining, and that's it's all I need, I guess, when it comes to
I'm not all that familiar with the comic book versions outside of like. Basically, I think I was familiar with Rocket Raccoon vicariously through Howard the Duck. And that's about it.
This is the darkest one.
Yeah. So in that respect, like that's the most so like to me, I loved those films. Those are my favorite of the Marvel films so far. So I mean, and I don't think we'll get any better ones.
I like the first one a lot just because it was able to operate completely separate from the established films that it had.
Second film does for the most part too. Yeah. But.
Yeah. The second, I liked 1 and 2. I liked all right. I mean, 1 was I thought more overall entertaining than 2 for some reason, except for maybe at the end. But I appreciated Guardians for being able to take some really niche awareness characters and really make something worth watching out of them. That was I appreciated that.
The first one was the best in my opinion, then the third one, then the second one for me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
That's the way most people view them, and I understand. Just to me, though, for some reason, just emotionally, the second one is like The Empire Strikes Back in a way, but then the third film also has some emotional depth to it as well. And I wouldn't compare it to Return of the Jedi in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I would say it's a better film in a trilogy sense than Return of the Jedi, because it really does take us back to who Rocket is, where he comes from, what he's all about, his creator, all that kind of shit. Like I thought it follows into certain trilogy rules quite well, but doesn't also fall into the traps of most trilogies. Now, granted, it's definitely the least of all three of the films. That I can agree with. But
the other thing
Mikey,
too. Sorry. Hey, Mikey.
Hey, Mikey.
No,
Hey,
coming
Mikey.
in just as we're getting near close, but we're
Greatest
doing some
YouTuber
chats.
ever.
Wait, I'm the only one on camera. Oh, hell no.
Oh no. Oh no.
What are you eating, Thomas Connors Jr.?
Uh-oh.
Nothing.
What are you eating?
Nothing. With two
Thomas
F's.
Connors Jr., what are you eating?
I'm not eating caramels.
Wait, what?
It's Christmas, man. Come on.
Christmas caramel. It's Boxing Day.
Same thing.
I'm trying to look on Tom's desk. What is
Little
that?
caramels.
Oh, good old caramels.
Do you know how much nutritional value is in those little cubes?
Plenty.
None, but there's
None.
plenty
A
of
lot.
emotional support in the
Endorphins. There's
And that's
endorphins.
nutritious right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, according to he's eating nothing good.
See, Polly's in the chat. You are so busted right now.
Oh,
I know.
Polly.
Hey, I'm gonna try and quit smoking. Let me get past that hump
Let a
first.
guy have
When did you start smoking?
I've been smoking for years, man.
Wait,
Oh,
what
no.
have you been smoking? Cigarettes, cigars, or weed?
All three. Cigars,
Oh,
I don't,
gee,
whenever
many
I can.
crickets.
Yeah,
Banana peels.
Let a guy have a
I
holiday
don't smoke
snack, for
cigars so
God's
much,
sake.
but yeah. Of course, he's not happy now. But yeah, thank you for that, Jason. Then we got Pinochet's Helicopter Tours here, who sends in $5. Says Hollywood doesn't need good writers anymore. If you have caught on by now, the message or whatever you want to call it is driving the train now. Yeah, that part's true too. There are plenty of great writers who are just kind of stuck, but at the same time, I got to disagree just a little bit, Pinochet, because we sit here and we can fix most of these movies and still have them be woke, still fall within those woke parameters, right? And they could still be like, oh, that wouldn't be so bad. In fact, the great example I always go to is how I fixed Ironheart. And I haven't met one person yet, hardly, who said that is not a better version of that character, or that they wouldn't want to see that movie, or whatever, or comic
Where is
book.
that TV show, by the way?
By the way, that is,
I don't know if it's ever going to see the light of day.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant fix, by the way.
And it wasn't hard, but that's just it. They work against the obvious, right? God forbid they actually hold the classic character up to some, they can't do that. They can't. They just can't do it. So yeah, that's
Like
the
that
problem.
actually could have been a comic book that would have been interesting. Your idea.
The only time they allow that to happen was with Miss Marvel and how she's like obsessed with Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
And then emotionally unstable amphibian says he's become a member. He didn't say anything. He just became a member. Thank you for that.
Well.
Oh, I get a video when that happens.
Oh, you do. What was it? What kind of? I forgot all about that. You're right, Mikey.
What?
I didn't see what level it was.
Hold on, I'll tell you right now.
Let me check.
How far back was it? Hold on.
A little ways.
I can't scroll that far back.
I'm looking. See if I can get there. I cannot. So we're gonna give you since Mikey is here, and this is his favorite one, we'll give you a minimum effort puppy.
Also known as twice the effort Bambino puts into anything.
And just in case you were a different level than that, we will give you the classic board corgi.
That is what we would call Bambino playing fetch corgi.
And just because it's cute, lazy puppy.
That's Bambino.
Hey. Oh,
He's ingenious though. He's getting around.
smart puppy.
Oh, I love little bulldogs. They're so cute.
Oh, yeah.
So cute. Scott Westbrook is here and says, Happy New Year, everybody. Hit that like button. Well, thank you for the $5, Scott. We appreciate that. And Happy New Year to you. That's right. We're only a few days out.
Happy New Year!
Yeah. And then we got Camelbot Killer sending in a $2 super chat and says, "Are we tired of superheroes? No, woke superhero hot garbage films. Yeah, that's true. But I think at the same time, the weird thing is here's the thing. Westerns changed. Now, Clobby will know what I'm talking about. It'd be really cool if we had, because I'd really love to get Razorfist's take on this, because he doesn't believe, I think, in certain kind of things too. But he talks to Westerns. He knows his thing about Westerns.
He knows Westerns, and he does believe in superhero fatigue.
He does, but I don't know if he draws parallels or not, per se. I'd have to go back and look. I know he's brought it up before, but I think, I can't remember his exact take on it. But like, there was that point when the deconstruction of the Western came in. And that was the Clint Eastwood period. Mm-hmm. So if you consider that the Snyder era, then yes, we are at that point. But I don't know if it was forced or thrusted upon.
Eastwood had talent, so.
That's true. That's true. But my point was, though, is that that's what it was, right? Was the deconstruction of the Western.
Yeah. But it was done intelligently, and that's the difference.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the difference. Yes.
Yeah.
Remember, when the genres stopped dominating, they didn't stop make Westerns. They would still pop up once in a while, every now and then, and almost added to, like, for example, with almost no TV shows, but the odd movie would pop up every now and then. It was a Western, and you go, oh, it's kind of cool to see a Western pop up.
Yeah, you could only seem like for a while there, it was on television, you only had room for like one Western.
Right. TV stopped. TV stopped.
And even then, it was like Walker, Texas Ranger, so it wasn't quite
there's not been a successful Western TV
probably
series.
Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, I would say was the last one. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Deadwood.
Actual.
Well,
that's true. On the network, but that was successful. Fair enough.
That's true.
But for the most part,
Longmire,
there have been many. Okay.
Longmire's modern Western.
What was the other one? Justified? But those are newer.
That was modern.
Yeah.
Modern day.
Modern. That's true. Lonesome Dove was pretty big back in the day.
Lonesome Dove was a miniseries. That was like the most successful thing in the 80s done as a Western on TV. Yeah, those were. So occasionally you had them, but they weren't dominating anymore. I mean, the 50s,
what you did
50s,
have,
they were dominant on TV and in movies.
What you also had, though, Clobby, and I wonder what you think of it, because you also had that era come in after Silverado.
Yes, which I loved. I love that movie.
And you had Silverado, Young Guns,
Pale Rider,
Tombstone. Pale Rider was in that era.
Tombstone was in the 90s, though.
But I mean, they all were in that era where you had the Young Guns, basically the Young Gun era. And Silverado was really the first one to do that. Yeah.
It really, in 85, man, I'm going, wow, a Western? I didn't know who any of the people were other than John Cleese. But I'm like, went to see it and just went, I don't know how many times I went to the theater to see that movie. I loved it. It had an adventure film feel to it. Lawrence Kasdan wrote it. Great cast. Still love that movie.
I got a question.
Was good.
Can you really compare the Western genre with the superhero genre, where you have the Western genre is essentially not
part of history?
Part of history, but it's also an aesthetic, whereas comic book movies are confined within the specific character.
And the reason I say that, Scribe,
but
well, not just that. Go ahead, Clobby. I want to hear your take first.
No, go ahead. No, I want to hear you. Go.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, in the Western, you have the reason I think they're comparable is because they were a dominant force for the longest time in cinema, which much like we've seen now with superheroes, which in and of itself doesn't make it so, but you can also insert any genre into both, right? So what they are is more of a carrier. They're like a plate, right? Like it's whatever you put on that plate is what matters. Because you can have a Western horror, you can have a Western romance, you can have a Western music, you can have a Western action, you can have Western comedy. Same thing with superhero movies. You can do all those things in a superhero film, right? So it's really just, or comic book movie, I think is a better way of putting it, because really at the end of the day, is Batman really a superhero? I mean, that's the other kind of question.
I argued that he is, but it's a long argument we don't want to have.
It's a long argument to have, but I mean, in the traditional sense of him having any superhuman powers, no, he isn't. So I mean, really, but let's just say for the sake of argument, we're going to call it the superhero genre, just for argument. But no, I think they are very comparable in their lines of, yes, what they do is you have a specific type of film now that is not like an action film where you only get certain kinds, or you get, a comedy, which is a straight comedy or whatever, to where you can insert any genre into these type of films. And that's where I think the best parallel is probably Western.
I think you can make any kind of genre film out of comic books as long as you have the correct character.
Yes.
Because like the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, that works because that character fits that kind of theme. I don't think you could take the Joker and put him into a high fantasy adventure movie. I mean, it has to be a specific character for a specific thing. Not to say the Joker couldn't be put into different places. You could find a way to justify it or something. When I was talking about sort of the base understanding of a character is that there's a limitation to where you can put them.
A great example is the Joker movie, right? I mean, you took two Scorsese movies, you melded them together, and you shoved it into it, and that's kind of what comic books always have been, right?
And you use the comic book license to cheat and get a big budget for a basically what was an art film.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, I kind of also look at it as like, in that sense. But again, Westerns never really technically died, as Klobby said too.
No, they didn't die, but their dominance dwindled after like a couple of decades on television. There were so many Western series that by the time the early 70s rolled around, they were just
you had Little House on the Prairie. They
were reusing scripts. That wasn't necessarily a Western. I'm talking about the Gunsmoke Bonanza,
Gunsmoke type shit. Okay,
of course, Have Gun Will Travel was the greatest reference in Western of all time on TV. But in other words, there had been so many Westerns at that point that they were just remaking old episodes of the Virginian and Bonanza and Gunsmoke for any new one that came along. They were almost always just regurgitating the same old script for a while, which is why they started to die out.
Well, and comic books were the same way, right? Like I just recently watched a video where basically they busted Bill Finger and Bob Kane for stealing the first story from the Shadow for the first Batman comic.
Yeah. Razor Fist pointed out that.
Well, they started ripping off pulps before that.
Yeah, so I mean, this is nothing new, and I mean,
comics ripped off pulps all the time.
So, like, it's sci-fi. You can almost kind of put it as another one of those genres because for a while, sci-fi was a very dominant genre. It kind of was what killed the Western, if you think about it.
They didn't have too many. They didn't have too many successful sci-fi shows like Westerns, though.
Not to the extent, no. But between Star Wars, things like Alien.
Oh, movies, yeah. I'm talking about shows.
TV, shows, not so much. But you did have like V and a few other things.
Battlestar Galactica.
Lasted 1 year.
It did, but the newer version did better.
Talking about like
Star Trek came in and reinvigorated itself as well. So I mean, you did have like a,
Oh, I mean, the 90s, you had like Star Trek, Space Above and Beyond.
I was going to say, because isn't that ironic? Because wasn't it originally sci-fi and space movies that kind of killed the Westerns initially on the big screen in the 50s and 60s? And that's kind of what happened again.
And Star Trek was meant to be wagon train in space, so it was already trying to play off of the Western to begin with.
Yeah, but it would just help the demise of it, is my point. Yeah. But no, it's an interesting point, and Mikey, I'm glad you joined us. How was your Christmas? I know you spent it with Mom. How's she doing?
Good. We had a Mexican Christmas, including enchiladas.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to come down one of these days. I really, really do, especially when your mom's there, so I can get some good food to me.
Yeah, I have to come there too.
Come on down. I just like
Mom should just start a restaurant in your place.
Midnight Tinge After Dark is proof that people can disagree and still hang out. Like yesterday, I completely and totally offended Scribe.
You did?
Didn't I?
He doesn't even remember.
Well, I guess maybe that's the beauty of it is that if you did, it's completely left my mind now. So.
Well, I'm sure I did.
And I'm not protesting your presence
I'm
here.
getting you confused with Price of Reason.
Wait a second.
You never offended me.
He's a knitted goldfish, and I'm a painting. How do you do that?
That's right. Hold on. I got.
Scribe was on the stream yesterday, if that's what you're thinking of, and I don't know what you said to offend him.
I don't know how you.
Wait, who was on the stream yesterday where I was talking how Punisher was great?
That did put a spike of poison into my heart, but it went away real quick. That was fine.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't hate people who like things I don't.
I know that's my point.
It's not like you were talking about pineapple on pizza or something.
No. I just live in comfort knowing that I'm correct. I don't need.
Everybody knows that pineapple pizza is freaking awesome, and the only thing better is when it has jalapenos.
Anyway, I'm sure Andre will cut that clip out though on the live archive.
Oh yeah, he said something about that on the.
Wait,
I'm
what?
sure he will because he loves.
Well, Andre changed my entire mind about the little Punisher. Short
he will
film.
do that. Him and
yeah, no, he did.
are really good at that shit.
He made and as soon as he said it, I thought to myself, please,
Script
Frank,
Doctor has
forgive
made me hate so many things that I like. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
It's like jerk. Andre's done it a few times too, though. But no, I think he'll cut it out because he loves Punisher, and Punisher was one of the reasons Midnight's Edge existed. Because
I always wondered about your logo because the logo was reminding me of like the Marvel Knights logo.
It's a mix between Marvel Knights and Midnight Suns, I believe.
Okay, yeah. Okay. I have both, and the first time I saw your logo, it felt like home. The very first time I saw it, I thought it looks really familiar.
And now it's kind of taken on a different form, but no, we kind of had to make it our own. But yeah, because at first that's what it was mainly supposed to revolve around, things like Judge Dredd, Punisher, Daredevil. That was the only things he really wanted to talk about. But things change. Camelback Killer sends in $2. Says, I miss Westerns. Stupid film execs ruin a good thing. Well,
they can.
Yeah. The audience.
Western's still around. Like Yellowstone is a big
they were
hit. That's
saturated for a while. That's probably the thing. I mean, they just, at that time when they faded out a little bit, but they still have them. So.
Oh yeah, like you just pointed out, Scribe, with Taylor Sheridan right now, Westerns are back in vogue, especially on television.
Yeah,
they're the biggest shows.
He fed it in with this little Yellowstone, Game of Thrones / Breaking Bad kind of combo, edgy TV show, and then made it an excuse to bring in prequels that are all like die-hard Westerns. So
they are too, and I mean, 18 and the both of those prequel things are actually probably better than the actual Yellowstone show.
Let's see. Scripted Floppy hate everything, as so does Texas Man. I do hate everything. I wish I hated everything.
I hate everything, I thought.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Well, you do too, Tom. Do you also hate everything?
I hate everything.
Imagine how cheap, how much money we'd save if we hated everything.
I know, right? Yeah, ask Mikey about that.
Yeah, I hate everything. I would have all this junk sitting around. I don't know what to do with.
Sergeant Point Blank is here and sends in $5. Says, what do you guys think about the new Project IG Terminator anime coming out on Netflix? I don't know much about it. I might give it a shot. I don't know. Are you guys interested in it?
Project IG Terminator.
It's a Terminator anime that's coming to Netflix.
Oh, right. I saw a preview or a teaser for that.
There are 2 movies. First one, second one. After that, I don't care.
If not, the third one puts a nice cap on things.
Yeah,
anyway, go ahead, Scribe.
Terminator brand is kind of sullied at this point. I don't know. Yeah.
Yepper.
Then again, I didn't mind Salvation till the end. It was just that last really. Because at least with Salvation, they got their point. They're like, just get beyond this stuff. Like,
yeah, Sarah Connor Chronicles. I appreciate. Yeah, I appreciate it for the fact that they were like, okay, this is a separate thing. We're starting fresh with a different deal. I was like, okay, right. I can extend you that, and that makes it a little bit easier.
It's cool, Josh. Either way, buddy. Believe me, you're not the first one that says that. If you're highly known for being highly critical of things, you just get the label. You hate everything. It makes it easier.
Yeah, this is what I'm curious about, Ian. We'll see how it goes. Although I did like the Animatrix. I mean, I know that's a little bit more in line with.
I love the Animatrix.
Yeah, the one part that was the best sequel it ever had. Yep. And yeah, Kanye did apologize. That's true. I saw that.
For what? What now? What are you doing?
For talking shit about Jewish people or whatever it was.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, I didn't really plan on stretching the show out too long. Sad to see that Script or nobody else made it, but I'm glad you did, Mikey. Did you get anything good for Christmas?
I don't know what good means.
Well, did you get something that you thought was really cool?
Enchiladas?
Yeah, you got it besides enchiladas.
The enchiladas is the first thing. Homemade enchiladas on Christmas Day.
Okay, for instance, you know what my mom got me for Christmas?
What?
You're probably going to get mad at me, but she bought me one of those old school like popcorn machines.
Well, actually, that's popcorn in and of itself is not bad for you.
It's all the crap you put on it.
Just get a lot of butter, you'll be fine.
Depends what you put on it, but popcorn.
Well, it's the one you have to actually make with the butter grease stuff, you know, the packets.
Nice.
Well, yeah, I mean,
old school movie theater kind.
If you just put the packets in it and pop it, it should be okay. I mean, that's probably the healthiest thing you'll eat.
Might be.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll add a little something to it, but we'll see how it turns out.
And then we mix that up with about 2 hours of cardio every day.
That I do got to get on, yes.
Yeah. I'm still going to get blocked from this.
So what did you get?
What?
Anything good? Like that? Did you get a popcorn maker?
Look, I got a bunch of gifts, but homemade enchiladas.
Do I have to make you a popcorn? Get you a popcorn maker?
No, I got one.
Oh.
Well, not a popcorn machine, but I got a microwave and I got all kinds of cool popcorn holders. Like you know, what my favorite thing is watching a movie with my Ghostbusters popcorn holder that I got 1.5 years ago.
Microwave popcorn is not good for you, Mikey.
What?
It's not.
Well, I don't know. It's yummy.
I know, but
Tom Connor's lecturing me on what's good for me.
You're gonna get popcorn lung.
What's that?
Look it up.
Hold on, doing it now.
Tommy Reviews sends in $10. Says for Christmas, I
probably want
either want or watch the read. Sorry, Western novel Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy, which I heard a few directors tried to adapt. Okay, he probably wants an adaptation. But due to the brutality of the book and how vile the villain is, it can't be done.
Yeah, there's I've read that book. It is beautifully written, but absolutely impenetrable to try to film effectively. And if you could look, I think just recently a YouTuber Wendigoon did like a 3-hour documentary on why it's so difficult to film or something. There's plenty of YouTube videos and little documentaries and shorts discussing the book and the attempts made to turn it into a film and the difficulties with it. So it's I mean, Cormac McCarthy, great author. His books are rough. Like I think the only one that comes to mind that I really liked was The Road, because at least it was a relatively straight narrative, even if the book is a little bit abstract in places. But yeah, Blood Meridian's that's like trying to adapt H.P. Lovecraft to the screen. It's just very difficult to do.
Yeah. Did you find it yet, Mike?
Yeah, here we go. Presenting it now. Sharing screen.
And see, you'll learn really quickly. I'm very anti-microwave. I do not like microwaves.
Popcorn lung is another name for bronchiolitis obliterans, a rare condition that results from damage of the lung small airways. BO. I don't have BO. I smell good. BO was originally discovered when popcorn factory workers started getting sick. The culprit was diacetyl, a food additive used to simulate butter flavor in microwave popcorn. Well, first of all, I don't have BO.
Well, that's not the same BO.
Second of all, look, if I get popcorn lung, look, it doesn't say anything in here about me getting cancer.
Yeah, but if it has diacetyl in it.
Well, I'm going to check my ingredients.
I know, but I'm just very anti-microwave. I'm just picking on you. I even buy like Jiffy Pop still and stuff. I don't really do a lot of microwave.
I'm very anti-ho-ho and caramel cubes. Are very
You're not. I know it's kind of funny. As much crap as I eat, you're right. I deserve that. Axicom sends in 5 and says, "Whatever happened to that untitled Adele Lynn comedy?"
I don't know.
Not.
Hey, wait! I got a complaint.
It wasn't made.
Yeah.
It just dawned on me something you said 5 minutes ago.
What's that?
You said you were frustrated nobody showed up. 4 of us showed up. Well, 3 of us on time. 1 of us late.
I didn't say anything about being frustrated. I said it was sad we didn't see Script or anybody else show up beside. But we're gonna be closing out. That's why I was
trying to derail the topic away from my.
Yeah, you are. I know you are.
Can you tell?
Yeah.
I'm not good at that.
Well, I showed up.
Let's see here.
Mikey, is your mom watching this stream right now?
No, she's watching a Hallmark Christmas movie as she folds laundry.
Last thing I see on this person's
but I'm going to try to get her on Thursday with you guys.
Is it Lim or Lynn?
Whatever happened to that untitled Adele Lynn comedy? The Manuel.
I don't have Lynn. I don't have L-I-N, but I got a Lim.
Would that be Lynn Morales or whatever?
No, Adele Lim was in Crazy Rich Asians and Joyride, and I don't see anything else.
Adele Lim, the Malaysian.
That's what I thought. Yeah. That's what I found. And yeah, nothing upcoming that I can see here. So Not happening anymore. Must have got killed from the strikes.
She was the one that this summer had that joyride.
Yeah.
That hoe. She's another diversity grifter.
Yeah, from what I can tell, whatever it was, probably got killed with the strikes. Extracom sends in 5 and says, ask Andre what he puts on his popcorn. He ain't human. Yeah, only salt.
No,
Nothing
blood of his conquered enemies.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
He said it had too many calories.
He says it's Tabasco, but I know for a fact it's the blood of his conquered enemies and victims.
Well, maybe that's true.
It is.
Tommy Review sends in $2. It says, meant to say I got a book for Christmas. Oh, you got it for Christmas. Well, cool. Hail Midnight said, well, thank you, Tommy Reviews. We appreciate that. Merry Christmas. Nicholas Horton says with a 26-month member chat, I heard Mikey got some new elf merchandise for Christmas, and somebody's been seen jumping out of windows again. Mikey,
this freaking joke. I'm so sick.
Did you get some new elf?
No,
stuff
I've gotten no new elf merchandise, and I've checked as of today. There's no new merchandise, and there's no freaking jumping out of freaking windows. And you people, Nicholas Horton, you and your
how dare you?
You and your cohorts and your need new material. That joke's like 2 years old already.
You didn't get the package I sent you?
What? No.
Mikey, did you at least like Alf theme song? Did you like the theme song to Alf?
No. As soon as I heard that playing in the living room, I'd get annoyed as fuck. I close my door and go to my room. Stop it!
You know what? As a kid, Mikey, at first I didn't really like Alf, but then over time he kind of grew on me.
Oh, yeah?
I think so. Initially I felt the way you did, but over time you kind of, I don't know, it was kind of interesting. It was different.
Grew on you like a fungus, maybe.
Oh. Well, let me go camera on and explain to you how my relationship with Alf started. What started like, oh gee, I don't like you very much.
Oh, why not, Mike?
Oh, because I think you are full of shit and had the worst TV show in human history. And over time, I have decided that I like you even less.
Oh no. Oh no.
Mike.
Not on screen. No,
we're gonna be in trouble now.
YouTube murder.
You're gonna cut your hand.
He's killing him. He's killing him.
Why do you have an Alf doll, Mikey, if you don't like
Somebody
him?
sent it to me.
Send it to me.
Oh.
I might have even sent it. I don't even remember now.
Dude, I got so much Alf crap downstairs. Like at this point, I literally probably should have my own Alf area.
Just save it for me and give it to me. That's fine.
What's Alf's real name?
You should do a shrine.
Gordon Shumway.
Oh, okay, good. All right, good. Do you remember the lyrics to the cartoon theme song? Gordon sends us into outer space because there ain't no one like you. Now Macian race. Yeah. I don't know why I remember this. This is one of those things like I wish I could put my brain to more productive things in life, but unfortunately it's all filled up with useless trivia. And for some reason, the theme song to that show is stuck in my head and I can recall it at any particular time.
I know the words to the song that Elf sang in the show for Lynn.
For Lynn, I remember he made a music video for her. Right?
You're the one who's out of this world, sweet baby. You're the one who's out of this world.
Okay, you know
I'm
what?
spinning in an orbit I ain't never been in. Yeah, that one.
I at least remember that he made a song for her, and I thought it kind of looked like a video, like he recorded a video.
Yeah, he did a
for
music
her.
video. Yeah.
That's what I remember, that he recorded a music video for her, but I couldn't remember the song. That was already a step beyond even my knowledge. I know that he's from Melmac originally.
Yep, Melmac and eats cats.
Okay, if you guys need me, I'll be sleeping back here.
Sadie says it's time to go.
Oh,
all right, kids.
All right.
I'm sorry, Mikey.
Defer to the dog.
As a reminder, I've been here when it was glory hole days, and I've been here when it wasn't. And so, having said that, I want me some glory hole.
What the hell?
What was that?
That was what's his face from the Cowboys. Yeah.
Is that what the Alf puppet is used for in the off hours?
Hardy har.
I just wonder why you keep that near your desk. Like what? It's
because I have it from the last time I was on.
I mean, do you hate something? With the never mind.
Dude, it's like in the floor in the corner where like until the next time his name comes up, I grab it again and do the same thing all over again. What? someone spent good money on sending me elf crap, and I don't have the heart to throw anything away, though I desperately want to set it all on fire.
All right, then.
All right. With that, check out Price of Reasons channel. Anything real quick you got to plug?
I posted my Aquaman review yesterday, and some people have enjoyed it, I guess.
There you go. Scribe, anything you got coming up?
Yeah, on Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, I have the 8th episode in my series called Living on Borrowed Crime, where I interview true crime content creators from YouTube. And my guest this week will be The Misery Machine, made up of the duo Druby and Yurgi. And I know it's completely different genre subject matter from here, but yeah, it's something I've been working on for a while, that series. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Cool. Clobby, what you got going on?
I'll say I think tomorrow night Loki's gonna have the comic book round table at 7 Central, and then I'll have my wild card Wednesday night at 9 Central, and then the clubhouse at 9 Central on Thursday nights with Raquel and Mark, and then of course J-Man's channel for our Fourth World Review show, and then at 7 Eastern over there on Friday, and then Saturday night Star Trek, buddy, at 9 o'clock. And then we're going to finish the year on Mark D's channel with his Big Geekery show, I guess.
All right.
Sunday night. Thank you for having me, buddy. Appreciate it.
Of course. Mikey, anything you got going on?
Oh, I'm going to be on Snowdub's channel in 4 minutes.
Oh, what's going on in 4 minutes? I see that here. We'll redirect everybody.
You were one busy YouTuber.
Taco Tuesday.
I am not. No, I am a special guest.
He's a sexy YouTuber.
I'm a special guest, a non-YouTuber. It's non-YouTuber night.
He's full of crap.
What? Yeah, why is that there?
Oh, why is it there?
This channel.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
Exactly.
Well, unless I bother you guys over there, I might just go to bed. I don't know.
Yeah, get some sleep.
Some rest there, buddy.
I got molested in a little boy's room.
I did. But we have Anonymous Gamer, who is a new member.
Woohoo!
Woo! What level? As Mike reminded me, we got videos for that. It is a maximum effort puppy.
Well, all right.
All right. Here you go, my friend. Maximum effort puppy for you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Anonymous Gamer. All right. With that, this will redirect you over to Instrut. Snowdub, where Mikey will be joining him. And you guys head on over there and say hello. Tell them we sent you there. And take care of yourselves. And remember...
Excuse me, ma'am. No porn at the bar.
Oh, it's okay. I'm transgender.
Oh, I had no idea. Do whatever you want all the time.